Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Bigadoo, also known as the Hood Sommelier. If you're here, welcome to the show. This is a Truth is Barrel Proof, where we talk a lot about whiskey, but we bring folks together around everything else whiskey. This brand I've been a fan of, I've known for a long time. I feel like it's probably the most common thing you see on the shelf, but you probably walk past it because it gives you, if you're more attracted to the Vikings, to the Gaelic way of seeing things, to that artistic thing, you probably have owned this brand before. But I have been wanting to talk to someone when it came to this brand because there's so much to know about it. There's so much history, and I want us to know more about it. I'm talking about none other than Highland Park. Highland Park. So today, I brought in the big guns. I brought in the man, the myth, the legend himself. He is on Instagram, but if you don't pay attention, you will not know. His name is Jared Vallon. I would call him the French way, Jared Vallon. And he is here to tell us everything we need to know about Highland Park and answer a little bit of our question. So next time you go to pick up some Highland Park, you know exactly what you're picking up, what you're supporting. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Jared to the show. What's up, Jared? What's happening?
What's up, Jack? Big fan. Thanks for having me on. I love your
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely. I'm a fan of the brand. I'll be geeking out and nerding out a little bit. So I have to apologize ahead of time. If you're watching this, you are on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, and if anybody here watching the recast would love for you to ask your questions. Jared is a little short on time. We gotta keep him for just a little bit, but we would love for you to ask your questions so we can answer them later on because he'll be available to answer your question or have any concern that you may have. I've been a fan of Highland Park for a long time. So the simple fact just to have you here, I'm geeked out. I'm so excited. So Jared, welcome to the show. For the people that don't know you, who are you and what do you do for Highland Park?
Yeah, no, thank you, Jack. Again, thank you for having me on. We're ecstatic to talk about Highland Park and all of our core range today. So we've got some fun stuff to talk about. So I'd say about 20 years ago is when I first started getting into the spirits industry, but that's when I first started bartending. It was in the early 2000s. I was 21 years old, wet behind the ears, got behind the bar at a very affluent, really high-end, beautiful restaurant in La Jolla in Southern California. And I had just such a demographic coming in asking for really high-end spirits from, high-end top shelf whiskeys to really beautiful cognacs and of course single malt whiskey. So that's when I first found love with single malt whiskeys. I bartended for years and years and years all over San Diego. And about 2013 is when I got into operations and management as a general manager, created my own cocktail list for the team. We're down in the Gas Lamp down in San Diego and the spirits list, of course. And that's when I first fell in love with Highland Park. We had the 12-year and the 18-year on the shelf there. And I dabbled. I had some fun with Highland Park 18-year for sure. And we'll talk about why I love that so much. And then right around 2017, 18-ish is when I started to get over to the supplier side of the business and started working for small startup companies, smaller portfolios, family owned and operated spirits. And then I always had my eye on Edrington, which is the parent company of Highland Park, which is out of Glasgow, Scotland. And I looked at them as the golden goose supplier portfolio. And I just waited for the right time, the right opportunity to come up. And lo and behold, 2023 in March, the brand specialist proximity role came out. And I jumped all over it. So I took that role on. I've been doing it now for roughly a year and a half, and it's completely embodied by it. It's so fun to where I can do consumer tastings, trade events, whiskey dinners, cocktail competitions. Highland Park is embodied, and I just love to be able to spread the love and the lore of Highland Park on a day-to-day basis, which is great. Which is what we're doing right now, talking to you and your subscribers.
Absolutely. For the people that don't know, tell us a little bit, and I'm gonna display in just a moment. Tell us a little bit about Highland Park. I want to know a little bit of the historic of the brand, very
Sure.
quickly, a synopsis. For all
Yeah,
of you
yeah.
who don't know, if you've never seen Highland Park anywhere, if you like single malt, you've seen Highland Park before. And this is the expression that usually is on every shelf in every, liquor store. So this is Highland Park. tell us a little bit of the history.
Yeah, this God, we storied history. So back in 1798 was when it was founded by a man named Magnus Jensen in Hyde Park, which is in Kirkwall of the Orkney Islands. The Orkney Islands is a group of 70 islands off the northern shore of Scotland, right at the base of the Arctic Circle. And this group of 70 islands is where Orkney, or where Highland Park's home is. And we're not just from Orkney; we're part of the landscape and the nature, the climate. It just where it embodies Highland Park of what we are, true to its form. We honor the older techniques, but we also we allow for new innovation. And our master whiskey maker, Gordon Motion, he loves to be able to dabble with some fun different casks. But the sherry seasoned casks is part of our DNA. Are the peat that we use from Hobbister Moor, our heather honey sweetness that we get from our heather all throughout the landscape of Orkney is a part of our DNA as well. And when you think of Orkney, you just think of this vast and remote, beautiful sea salt sprayed coastline, this maritime climate, rolling fields of this beautiful violet heather shrub all across the fields, and gale force winds, 100-mile-an-hour winds tearing through all of the islands, coming up through the Gulf Stream, which doesn't allow any trees to grow on the islands, which is incredibly important to touch on as well. So yeah, the Orkney just absolutely it just tells the tale. We're a part of it, and that's what makes us so different by nature.
Just to quickly highlight, for people that are Scotch or single malt curious, Orkney is a land on its own, right?
Absolutely.
Orkney only have 2 major distilleries in Orkney.
Sure.
There's nothing else happening there. So it is, you like Speyside, you like Isla, Orkney is a beast on its own. So yeah, when you get a chance to get something from Orkney, I never pass it. Either it's been something bottled by an independent bottler or Highland Park, I never pass a chance. But before we get into the spirit itself, I want to know a little more about Highland Park. Seem to actually come more, and excuse my ignorance, on a Viking way, like on the Gaelic style, old Gaelic Viking kind of spirit, animal spirit kind of belief. Can you brush off a little bit on that? I've always wondered why. What is that from?
Sure. Well, I mean, from Orkney being so close to Norway, closer to Norway than we are to London, but really what we like to really consider, a few people are just aware of or are unaware of Highland Park and the Orkney heritage that we have. So we love to be able to explain the history of Orkney and how true and passionate it is about us. But really what we focus on with the location of us and how the nature forms us, a part of the entirety is our keystones of production, from our cask harmonization to even and cool maturation, our sherry seasoned oak casks, our hand cut aromatic peat, and of course our hand turned floor maltings. So all of those steps are really what sets us apart. So yes, there's plenty of history that you just kind of mentioned, and that's really important to us because 1798, we're one of the oldest distilleries to date. We're the northernmost single malt whiskey distillery currently, and we take a lot of pride in that. So you see a lot of honor and pride from our Orkney home and what tells the story for Highland Park.
Absolutely. So let's come to the spirit itself. Tell us a little bit about how Highland Park comes to life, right?
Yes.
A little bit about the distilling process, and you get to tell me, as somebody who is rediscovering Highland Park today, where do I start in this journey?
Yeah, of course,
of discovering it.
Yeah, so we're going to try some great stuff. We're going to try our core lineup. So we're going to start with the 12-year, but really what I wanted to hammer in on is our 5 keystones of production. So many other single malt distilleries seem to have foregone some of these steps that we find it might be an extravagant and an expensive and exorbitant cost, but is absolutely crucial to what makes Highland Park so unique and different. So our hand-turned floor maltings, rigorous, 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, hand turning all of our floor maltings to be able to allow for a unique absorption of our heather honey peat smoke, and our heather honey peat smoke. Heather honey peat smoke is from our.
That is a mouthful.
It is, yeah. But the heather, as I mentioned, no trees grow on any of the islands. So when you have just nothing but this shrub and this heather, and in our moor 7 miles away from our distillery, it's salt and roots and decomposing heather. So we cut down to a perfect layer. So we only take what we need to use, and we use that peat smoke, which is not a high carbon content of a burn. Our ppm of our final product is only about 1.5 to 2 ppm. So it's very light and floral and aromatic and sweet. And then we go into our sherry seasoned oak casks. We cut these in staves down in Jerez, Spain, and that's where we fill with our dry Oloroso sherry. We let it season for about 2 years. And then we take the Oloroso out of the casks, ship the casks up to Orkney, and fill with our first make spirit, which is about 68.9% ABV, goes in the casks, lets it mature in that even and cool maturation up in Orkney. So we don't have much of a temperature swing up in Orkney. It's about 35 degrees at the lowest in the winter and about 65 at the highest in the summer. So it's even and cool maturation, perfect for our aging process for our whiskeys. Not a lot of angel share, not a lot of liquid loss. And we have 23 different warehouses that Gordon can choose from. And that leads to our last step is our cask harmonization. He'll choose sherry seasoned European casks, American casks, refill casks, and lets them all combine and marry together. So that's what leads us right into the 12-year, which is that super trifecta of malt, peat, and cask, that perfect, spicy, well-rounded, that perfect everyday drinker and cocktail baseline spirit.
Probably one of the most different, imposing spirit in bottles also in the industry. It's kind of hard not to recognize Highland Park bottle. The mold, from the detail on the bottle. I always talk about bottle. People think it's the weirdest thing, but for me, bottle makes sense, especially on the bar, and also the feel when you're holding a bottle of like I could be a blind man and I can recognize Highland Park from the shape of the bottle all the way to all the the ruins that you see on the bottle. It's the coolest, one of the coolest bottle that I would honestly say probably 13 years ago was the first time I bought my first bottle of Highland Park. And
thank you.
And when I did, it was not the whiskey that was the first thing that attracted me. It was the bottle, it was the runes on the bottle. I was like, this is a really cool looking bottle. Let me try what before I knew about Orkney and all the things that go. But let's like we say in Scotland, let's lunch and let's try this beautiful nectar of the gods here.
Yeah,
I love the nose.
Yeah, the nose is great. Again, the casks that we choose, and of course the age in those casks are going to give about 60% of our flavor into the final products, is what we see with Highland Park. But 100% of the color is driven from the casks. So no additives, no coloring is added to this. It's just got a really beautiful cask-driven amber color to it. And on the nose, you get some spices, but it's not overwhelming. You just get nice subtleties, kind of get a little bit of sweetness. That aromatic peat smoke comes through.
And I would think the ppm was a little higher than that 2 or 3, but right now the nose for me remind me of crumble cake. It's very, very much so.
You get that sweetness with that.
Correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that is like that when you get that cake a la mode with ice cream on top of it sizzling, you get those bready notes that are coming through, that fresh bakery smell with just a little bit of that those vegetable green notes, apple crisp that comes on top of that.
Yeah, you knocked it out of the park. With the American sherry seasoned casks, we're getting some citrus notes, like some Seville orange. And then the European casks, first fill Oloroso sherry European casks, we're getting the spice notes and some dried fruit, some dried apricot. And we're also using some refill casks to really just round it out and just smooth it out. But really all those flavor profiles are just so well balanced. You get the smokiness, but it's just kind of underpinned and really forward with that citrus and that honey, which is great. To your point with the ppm, so all of our floor maltings, we malt all of our barley, and 20% all of our floor maltings is heavily peated. So that's roughly 35 to 40 ppm. And the other 80% is unpeated. When we have it all finished and all final out at the first make spirit, it's just right around that 1.5 to 2 ppm. So it's really, really light, aromatic, and very floral.
Dude, one thing we also have to give Highland Park, and we have to put this to the forefront, consistency.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird. I think the last time I've had some Highland Park was probably about 3 years ago. because obviously I have some that I pick up in airport and that.
Sure. Yeah.
And the latest one I've had last time I've had a Highland Park 12. Usually I go for the 15,
Sure.
and
Great.
the cast strength is my favorite.
Money. You love it. Yeah.
Right. And funny thing is, if 3 years later of having a whiskey, it tastes exactly like I remember it, the word we need to use here is consistency.
I love that. So Gordon Motion, that's is day to day. He actually was just out here in California doing a little fun little PR trip with us here on the West Coast, and now he's back at it, back to work. And his day to day is to make sure that that consistency, that unique DNA of Highland Park is consistent from the 12, 15, and 18. That's our core line. So he has up to about 170 different casks that he can choose from to make sure that you get that consistency year over year to get our award-winning whiskey. Now, once you get into the 21 year and up, we can talk about that. Our prestige line. He has the autonomy and the artistic balance to be able to say, let me try to make a different batch with using some different casks. He'll throw in some ex-Rioja casks, some ex-port casks, ex-bourbon casks. Today, we're going to be able to try something with Pedro Jimenez casks. So he's got that autonomy to be able to make some fun, unique items. But the 12, 15, and 18, to your point, it's consistent. The 12-year won a double gold in the San Francisco Spirits competition last year, and we're happy to be able to continue this. But this is just perfect for cocktails, penicillins. God, I drink so many highballs with this baby. It's so good, right? It's balanced, and it's such a great.
And that meatiness that the whiskey have really will fit well in a cocktail. Now, from a 12 to the 15, what makes the difference here from the 12 to the 15? What is the cattle? Is it just time, or is it difference of cask?
A little bit of both, right? So throughout the time, the extra 3 years, he's using a predominantly more first fill American casks. He's still definitely using some first fill European casks for the 15, but the American casks tend to shine a little bit more on the 15 rather than in the 12. ABV wise, the 12 is 43%, the 15 is 44%. So it's just a little notch up in terms of ABV. But to your point, it's all about maturation and time, as well as the casks. So the proportion wise, just a little bit more on the 15 is American first fill sherry casks on the 15.
So as you climb up, what is he doing the same thing as we climb to the 18?
18, he's kind of flipping it. He's using a little bit more European sherry fill casks rather than the American casks. Yeah.
For people that don't know what it looks like,
yeah,
this is what we're looking at when it comes to the 15. This is kind of one of my favorite bottles because of the green and how it looks. Then obviously when we're looking at when you move forward, you actually have the 18. Tell me a little more about the 18. What are we looking at as far as
First, let me touch on the 15. So the 15 with the American casks, traditional with American oak, you're going to get a little bit more vanilla to it, right? So and more tropical fruit. We'll get some fresh pineapple, a little bit of cinnamon, but the finish on the 15 is creme brulee and sponge cake. It's a little bit more vibrant with the peat smoke, but the 15 is absolutely top notch. As you go into the 18 year, our biggest award winner, the 18-year, won Best Spirit in the World twice. So we're really, really happy with that. Paul Picoult, the writer for the Spirits Journal, and most recently in 2009, wrote that the best spirit in the world. And the 18-year, predominantly more European oak casks rather than the American casks, but still rounded out with the refill. And we're getting more ripe cherries, dark chocolate, cocoa nibs, toffee, espresso. It's really, really big. It's a mouthful, and it's more rich and complex, but extremely refined. And the 18-year is just such an incredible everyday drinker. It is my personal favorite. I absolutely adore the 18, and I just can drink that on a celebratory situation, or if I've had a bad day, your day will turn right around with the 18-year. The 18-year also just won platinum in the San Francisco Spirits competition. When you win 3 double golds in a row, boom, you get a platinum. Our 21-year did the same as well. So we're really, really happy with the 18. The 15 got 99 points in the Spirits competition as a double gold. So we're really happy with the awards that we're winning, but I think the liquid speaks for itself. I think we're so happy.
I tell you what, if you love single malt and you never ventured into Highland Park, I really feel sorry for you. You are not discovering what Highland Park, what really some Orkney as a region has to offer.
Look at that color, right?
Yeah,
It's just
look
it's
at
so
that beautiful
completely cast driven.
I cannot wait. I think I'm gonna actually come back and yeah, really show and I will show you what the bottle looks like. And I will tell you what, when it comes to Highland Park, price wise also, it stays right in the right. Now with the platinum winning now, I don't know if you will be able to afford it next year. So start running to grab yours now before next year prices comes out, because with all these award coming, more people will be pushing to grab a bottle. So I'm just telling you, this is you heard it here first. This is your time to actually run and own those bottle. I can tell you as just as right at my head, 13 years ago, or even 7 years ago, back in 2019, I ran out of the 15 and I ran out of the 18. And when I grabbed those at that time, and 2 weeks ago, when I looked up the price, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna tell you.
Well, to that point, you can find some 18 sub $200, and that's where
Correct.
we really want to stay.
Correct.
And for a great, that's a great bang for your buck, right? And it's a great award-winning everyday drinker, but it's still could be a celebratory dram. So the 18, we're really happy with that suggested retail price. So
Absolutely,
it's great with that. Yeah,
absolutely. So about what, 3 years ago, or almost 4 years ago, I think it was right at the end of the panorama,
right,
that the release of the cask strength came on the market.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So Gordon Motion, our master whiskey maker, wanted to have all of our fans and consumers to be able to try Highland Park in its rawest and most true form. So in 2020 is when he came out with the first batch release, and we've come up to now, we just wrapped up the 4th release, and now we're into the 5. So we're excited to be able to have you try this, Jack, and for all of your viewers to see it.
One. Yeah,
because this is not even available in America as of yet. June is when it launched globally, but we will start seeing this in California and all of our other states here within the next few weeks and coming months. But the 4 is still trickling around the market, and as the batches come every year, it started in 2020, comes a little bit higher in proof. So the 4th release was about 63 or 64.3%. This one comes in at 64.7% ABV.
Yeah.
The casks that Gordon is choosing from this, he's using his first fill Oloroso, European and American oak casks, a little bit less American oak casks on this, as well as some ex-bourbon casks. And as I mentioned, using some Pedro Jimenez casks on this makeup. So he's really playing around with some really fun casks that are aging throughout of our warehouses. We have 19 dunnage houses and 3 rack houses all throughout our distillery. We've got about 46,000 casks maturing at all times, and he can play around with it and find something like, hey, he found this Pedro Jimenez cask that just looks like a beauty, and we're just we're happy to be able to have everybody try this. What do you think? Entirely from the cask. No water added. Barrel strength. How good is that?
I can't speak.
I know. It's just got to simmer on this one, man. You can enjoy this. Oh,
I tell you what. Yeah.
What do you think?
This needs to be in my collection.
Yeah.
I need an open bottle of this one in the back.
That's what we're talking about.
I don't think this one is gonna make it to the end of the year.
Yeah, I doubt it. So again, throughout the whole lineup and with the cask strength, that aromatic peat smoke, that's heather honey sweetness, the sherry seasoned casks, it all comes through. Yeah,
crisp. It's like chewing on a spicy, juicy red apple that have a little dash of cinnamon and cherries right in there.
Oh yeah.
Finishing with a little bit of just a little bit of that cinnamon dust with some black chocolate. Just like literally just some cocoa powder in the back of your throat.
Crush it.
On this channel, we say the truth is barrel proof. If this is what comes straight from the cask.
Oh man. My palate is just dancing right now.
Man, that's what I'm saying. The crisp, it holds down to your palate it is criminal how good it is. It's unreal. That doesn't say I can't speak. There's so many whiskeys that stun me. So many. There's I can count how many whiskey stun me.
I
And
love
this
it.
one,
This is great.
this
Yeah.
is
So
stunning.
again, that first make spirits, 68.9% goes straight into casks. After that aging, we pull it right out, right into the bottle. Non-chill filtered, completely cask color driven, and yeah, you get like notes of oregano and like crushed pine needle on the nose and some cloves. But man, on the palate, you kind of get a little bit of licorice. Even
Yeah.
it's winter
Even
spices.
even
You
the
nailed it, spices and
even the nose have that sort of cocoa dust,
yeah.
like a little bit of that dark chocolate, something dark in it, almost like figgy, some fig down there. It's I
And
don't
yeah, yeah,
I know
it's
we talked about the 18, but if I walk today and somebody hand me these, I'm running away with this cat string.
yeah,
And
it's like
and, and
sun
for
dried
the
fruit, fig,
fall, right?
dates.
Fall, winter, these calm weather where you come and just want to chill on the porch and just relax on the porch. Guess what? You are ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell you what, all of you guys that are here, you have to know the Highland Park line hold a deep history into Orkney, but the master distiller blenders that are putting this in a bottle are very intentional about what they're putting in. My advice to you is, if you are into single malt and you really, really want to know more and really let your palate explore, you got to give a chance to Highland Park. You have to try it. Um, Last question before I actually release you is, what should we as fan of Highland Park? What should we look forward to? What are the things that you don't have to tell us the secret, but what are the things as you look for? We already know starting this year at this fall coming in on most market, you're gonna find the number 5 release of the cast strength. I have the number 1 because that was the first time it came out. I had to have it.
Love
I
it.
have number 1, number 2, but 3 and 4 I haven't tried. But 5 right now just renewed my faith in that I should be owning every single release that is out. So, what are the things beside this number 5 release coming up we should be looking forward to?
Yeah. So again, all of our prestige line from our 21 year, 25 year, 30 year, 40 year, those come out in different batches. So every year, Gordon Motion has that autonomy to play out with different casks. And when something really shines with him, even if he is making his 18-year core line, he'll find a cask within those 23 warehouses and be like, whoa, that's different. That sings. That's an iconic. Let's put something into a single cask. And that's something like this one here. This is a Highland Park 18-year single cask, which is offered in I think it was about 516 bottles, but it's a California specific release. But he'll come out with some of these. This was a first fill Oloroso sherry European oak butt, and it's just phenomenal. And I just love that. So when he comes out with some single casks every now and then, some one-offs, but really we can't speak to anything that's secret and upcoming, but what we can speak to is what we're really, really proud of. And our prestige line, as I mentioned, the 21, 25, 30, 40, and also the 50. But our oldest and rarest and most unique whiskey to date is our 54 year. Our 54 year was launched last year. It was the first time I had it was with Gordon up in Sausalito for the launch, and is so delicious, so out of this world. Here's a little tasting kit of it. And this is the 54 years celebrating Highland Park's 225th anniversary. And it is just phenomenal. Lychee, coriander, hints of light oak and rose petal. It's just phenomenal. The casks were laid in 1968, 10 refill casks. And then Gordon in 2008 re-poured those into first fill Oloroso sherry butts, and those finished off for the final 54 years. It's just phenomenal. So we do have some exciting things coming out. Again, you mentioned the batch or the cast strength 5 coming out, and we will have some things that Gordon's really proud about and release those out. But just we'll always have these cast or the core line and the prestige changing up in batches coming out.
I said last question, but my last question has to do because I have a lot of retailers that follow me, so I have to ask this question. One of my prized possession, I have 6 of them, are single cask, because you mentioned a single cask of Highland Park from Florida, from California, that actually I purchased because I love those single casks. If a retailer want to have a single cask Highland Park in their store, what would be your advice to them? Do they sell more Highland Park? Do they talk to their distributor about that? How should they go? Because I know retailers that love Highland Park and would love to
Sure.
have those single casks.
Sure. Well, I can't speak for all markets. I can't speak for all states, but primarily from what we see is it's just as these special releases, and the channel is always go through the distributor. We're nationally distributed with RNDC, and we love for all of your retail partners and for any of your fans following just to go and talk to their store, talk to the distributor, and see what options that we have out there, because there are some fun, amazing single cask release that are popping up all throughout the market. We won't showcase it in our core and our prestige lineup, but some of those do pop around. So if you do find it, it is a diamond in the rough, and always make sure to grab one if you can.
All right. Thank you so much, Jared. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you talking to us about Highland Park. Guess what? This is now your hood. You're part of my hood now. You're part of our whiskey hood. Come back anytime.
I love
I
it.
want to know more about Highland Park. I want to know more about the new release. Hopefully, in a couple years down the line, we can have you in. For all of you guys who don't know, you can also follow Jared on Instagram, but make sure you follow Highland Park as well on all social media, Facebook or Instagram, or anywhere where you actually are on social media. But also, Jared have a special event coming soon. Check out his Instagram to actually see the detail of that event. His background is in bartending, so when Highland Park is involved in cocktails, Jared is about to bring the heat. Make sure you actually know there's always special events happening around where Highland Park is. Go to your store, go to your distributor, talk to them, say, hey, we want more of this, because I would love to see the Midwest get some of these single cask Highland Park on the market. But 12-year, start there and then move up from there. You will not be disappointed. For all of you guys here, thank you so much for joining. Jared, any last word before we say goodbye to the folks?
Yeah, it was a great way to cap off the week. It's been a great Friday. I just love being able to get in front of you and preach about Highland Park, and we just love it. We really appreciate you taking the time to have us on here, and I hope all your viewers can go out and see what Orkney's all about and see this incredible, unique liquid that we're making. All right, so cheers everybody, and cheers to our beautiful whiskey, and to many, many more ahead. All right, Jack.